Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are taking a look at my new hardtail. This is a Devinci Kobain. This is their entry-level model in really their whole mountain bike lineup, but in their hardtail lineup, they make basically one hardtail other than a fat bike, which is not something you see a whole lot in Texas because those are kind of for snow and maybe for sand, like if you live that type of terrain. But anyway, Kobain comes in three models: the Deore 11 speed, which is this, and there's a Deore 12 speed and a SX 12 speed. That's a SRAM SX Eagle 12 speed. Those two 12 speed bikes have a little bit nicer Marzocchi air fork, a little bit different setup on the brakes, and again, drivetrain. But I think the wheels are identical, other than frame colors. Frame material is identical. It's just an aluminum, I think a 6061 series aluminum frame. But what's cool about this is it is built in Canada, so this is not an overseas production bike. It is North American produced, including the frame. They've welded the frames up in their factory in Quebec. And so that is pretty incredible, especially at the price, because all of these bikes retail for under $2,000 US. That, in most people's opinion, is considered a value level or budget bike when you're talking about other mountain bikes that are many more thousands of dollars. So I know I've focused a lot on inexpensive bikes here lately on my channel, with a $100 bike, a $150 bike, and a $216 bike. Those were just kind of fun little side projects to see how good or bad such a cheap bike would be. But I ride nice bikes. I've got a carbon fiber full suspension and a specialized stump jumper. I've also got a specialized turbo levo, which is e-bike. That one's the aluminum frame. And then I've also got a kind of a mountain bike, kind of a commuter bike, but it's a specialized Deore, which is a hardtail. It is mountain biking capable. It's definitely off-road capable, but it's something that can be set up with fenders and a rack, which mine is, and kind of more of a commuter type of a bike. So I wanted to get another hardtail for trail riding and started looking around. This one popped up on a local shop's clearance bike list, and so I wanted to go check it out. I mainly was intending to see if I liked the way it fit, because I really wanted to get the Deore 12 speed model with the Marzocchi fork, Deore 12 speed drivetrain, a little bit nicer brakes, all that good stuff. But after checking this thing out in person and riding it, first, I like the red frame. Red, can't go wrong with that color, beautiful color. Second, the things that I thought were going to be a liability on this bike, the non-adjustable coil spring fork, and that was really the main thing. The other thing I thought was kind of cheap at this price point were the brakes that were advertised as coming on this bike. When you look at Devinci's website, it's supposed to have Shimano MT200s, which are actually really great brakes. I've used those on a couple of different bikes and have absolutely no problem with them at all. They're great brakes, but I just thought, for the price, this should have something a little bit nicer. To my surprise, I'll get to the fork in a minute. It had, I've never heard of these, Ride Rever, and apparently they use the same style. Oop, it's moving. Uh-oh. Back you go. I hadn't seen these brakes before, but they use the same style of brake pad as Shimano, like the MT200s, so that'll be easy to replace brake pads, but just a little bit different style brake lever. It's got a hinge clamp, and you do have just kind of your normal Allen wrench adjustment for reach, but they just have a really nice feel. They don't have a whole lot of free stroke before the pads contact the rims, and they're really decent brakes. I mean, not something I have any desire to upgrade, at least for the time being. Again, this one has the slightly lower end 11-speed Deore drivetrain, which quite honestly, I think shifting performance is about the same as the Deore 12-speed. I had a bike with that drivetrain a while back, and this feels the same and has almost the same range. 11 to 51 teeth on that cassette, as opposed to 10 to 51 teeth on the 12-speed. Whoop-de-doo, you have a little bit bigger jumps between gears because basically the same range, but one less gear. But all in all, mean, really nice, smooth shifting drivetrain. You do have a clutch. There's a clutch lever right there for chain stabilizer. Deore crankset. These pedals do not come on this bike. It just comes with cheap plastic, like Welgo pedals. I've actually got to rebuild the bearings on these because these are not spinning well. But this is a one-up, aluminum pedal, which is like a $150 pedal. And anyway, I've got a rebuild kit on the way, so I'll get those fixed up, and that'll be nicer. This does come with, that's another thing I was not a huge fan of. It's just got a basic dropper seat post, which I'm loving the fact that it has one for the money, but it's only 130 millimeters of travel, and you can see how much extra seat post I have sticking out of the frame. And obviously you could fit a much longer dropper post. It does have a bend in the seat tube, so probably wouldn't be able to get a super long travel dropper all the way down in the frame, but certainly 150 millimeter travel dropper would easily fit, slammed all the way down. And I've got a 175 millimeter dropper on the way because it's gonna probably still stick up, somewhere halfway between there ish. So plenty of room to run that, but that'll be a little bit more travel, which will be nicer. Another thing I've changed out on this bike: handlebars, grips, normal stuff. The stock bars are real low rise, like 15 millimeter rise bar. These are just stock bars off of one of my Specialized mountain bikes. They're like a 30 millimeter rise bar. Otherwise, similar sweep, similar width, like 780 millimeters wide. Decent. Wheel set, real basic aluminum rims. I think they're a 29 millimeter internal width, so decently wide. It comes with wire bead Kenda, I forget the name, but it's a 2.6 inch tire, which is about the widest you want to run on a 29 or 30 millimeter internal width rim, but not too bad. But real inexpensive basic wheel set. The free hub has a lot of degrees between each click, so you don't have super fast engagement. That's something that I'm going to be addressing as well on this bike. Front wheel, it just has to spin, so it's fine. And these are tubeless compatible rims. Obviously, those wire bead tires that come on it are not tubeless compatible. I already swapped out a set of Specialized Butcher and Purgatory, and these are some older but brand new takeoffs that I got for free from somebody, and they're the right size, 29 by 2.6. So set those things up tubeless, put some cool looking muck off valves in their signature pinkish magenta color, so those look kind of cool. And so we're coming back around to the fork. I told you I was going to talk about that. Real basic coil spring, non-adjustable fork, other than your rebound knob down here on the bottom right leg, which is good to have. I like having that tunability. I was worried that this fork was going to feel not so great. Can't adjust the spring rate like you can obviously with an air fork, and even some coil forks do have a preload adjuster on them. This one, you cannot do that. But after riding it, I'm pleasantly surprised. Coil forks are naturally more plush. They have less stiction in the initial little bit of travel, so they tend to react much more sensitively, or better to sensitive small hits, little stuttery bumps, and that can kind of take out a lot of the vibration and chatter that you would otherwise feel on a hardtail especially. But just coming through the handlebars don't have nearly as much vibration because this thing is super smooth. And those are 35 millimeter stanchions, so super beefy, nice big stanchions. So that's a good stiff chassis for the front end on the bike. And oh yeah, 130 millimeters of travel is what this thing is set up with from the factory. You could probably do 140 without throwing too much off, but as far as the geometry, this thing handles really good. It is one of the slacker, it's actually right in the same neighborhood as my stump jumper. It's a 65.5 degree head tube angle and then a 75 degree effective seat tube angle. So this thing feels really good on the climbs. I mean, it's a heavier bike. It's 33 pounds out of the box, so certainly not going to feel like it's a rocket ship up the climbs, but you don't lose any energy through the rear end, and it seems very competent to go up a hill. But what is really impressing me, it's a nice, stable feeling bike, got a decently long wheelbase, and especially this fork is a larger 51 millimeter offset fork, and I'm surprised that the front end doesn't feel floppy like you sometimes feel on relatively slack head tube angle bikes when you get into the 65s, under 66 degree numbers. Those to me have tended to feel like the front end is real floppy in slow speed corners. This bike is super neutral feeling, and it's a joy just to go pedal around on the street, which is what I just got done doing, since we've had about an inch of rain and all of the trails are wet. I also added a down tube protector, just a clear vinyl thing. It actually came with one of my other bikes, and wanted to have that on there just to keep rock chips from beating up the bottom of the frame. So that's pretty much it right now for kind of the upgrades. I am going to be swapping wheels on this bike, only because I have a set of nice Roval, which are from a Specialized set of Roval wheels that have DT Swiss 370 internals, which is kind of a lower end DT hub, but it does allow you to use their star ratchet upgrade to get faster engagement on the hub. The hub that it's got right now, or the engagement, is actually not a whole lot different than this bike. It's a this one's got 22.5 degrees of engagement, and that DT hub is 20 degrees, so not a huge difference. But it's going to end up with 10 degrees of engagement when I do an upgrade, because I bought another kit to put in my other bike, and I'm going to take that one and put in the wheels that go in this bike. So that'll be a nice little upgrade, save some weight, because those are decently light wheels, and it's going to have that better engagement on the hub. So there we go. I'm going on 13 minutes here, so we're going to wrap this up, and I'll probably do a little update video when I get some other things done to this bike, but I figured I'd share this because there's not a ton of videos out there on this bike. Pink Bike just did a review in their value field test for the higher end 12-speed model, but anyway, I wanted to show you all the 11-speed model, and hopefully that's answered some questions. And send any more questions my way. I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my knowledge. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you click like, subscribe to my channel. I hit 500 subscribers, which I'm halfway to monetization, so keep them coming. I appreciate it. And everybody, get out there and ride your bikes.